Look, you see yourself, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are. So I got the monkeys with me this week, at least my three boys, my little girls back home with mommy. But we got Magnum and Maverick and Major, 12 and 10 and 3. And you guys want to say hi?
Hi.
Anything else you want to say? Anything? Going
Hi,
once?
Mommy.
Going twice? Hi, mommy. You want to tell mommy you love her?
Yeah.
Tell her.
Hi, Mom.
All right. They're going to go run and eat lunch and do some things. But if they get back in time, maybe they'll even answer a question or two. If you put any questions in there for you. Ready, break. Ready, go. Ready, go. All right. Sneak out quietly. So let me see if I can wheel myself up here. Wheeling myself in a wheelie chair is like Dr. Evil in Austin Powers, just rolling away. That's kind of what it's like for me. My legs don't actually move the chair, so it's a real pain in the butt. Anyways, I digress. Let's talk about what's going on. As always, if you want to know when we're doing these YouTube lives, like and subscribe, and you'll definitely know when we're doing these. And you can ask questions and try to get you answers and keep you up to date on things. Always appreciate you all paying attention. Going to address a couple of quick things and then get into your questions. So just number one, GDP report is on my list, gross domestic product. We now see that for 2 straight quarters, there has been a reduction in gross domestic product. That is, by all classical definitions, a recession. We do not want a recession, but unfortunately, the administration does want a recession. And this is, a tale of 2 directions that we could be going right now, and where I think the administration is absolutely wrong. Make no mistake about it. The Biden administration and their appointees to various agencies, you name it, they want to crush the American economy. They want a recession. They saw that as their tool to fight the inflation that they created, number one, with energy policies. So what would, in my mind, would be the other direction to go to fight inflation and what's going on with supply chain? It would be to reduce regulation. It would be to cancel what they're doing with their day one policies for energy policies, to open up our economy so it's not so restricted and expensive to get things like energy. That's the number one driver of what's going on with this inflation. But instead, their approach is raise interest rates, make it more expensive for you to buy a home, buy a car. It's already expensive because of them for you to buy things at the grocery store and the gas pump. But now, because you're going to have to put some more of that onto a credit card, that's also going to be more expensive, not just when you swipe it, but also at the end of the month when you actually go and pay that bill. They are trying to crush our economy to fight inflation instead of trying to make things cheaper in America to fight inflation. I think it's absolutely wrong, but that's what the administration is doing right now. So I want to talk about something else here. The Manchin-Schumer deal. What's going on there? If you've heard about that at all, you're looking at right now in the midst of overwhelming inflation. Now over on the Senate side, Manchin has decided that he's going to get onto some version of what they call Build Back Better or something like that. And between that and another piece of legislation that they're calling the CHIPS Act, they're looking at roughly another $1 trillion of spending. So you think about what's going on with inflation right now, and then you think about spending another $1 trillion and where inflation goes to. And again, instead, their goal is not to free up regulation in the United States of America and make it easier for you to do business, cheaper to do business so that goods can be cheaper. Their goal is to spend more of your money, which will also create just catastrophic levels of inflation, but also simultaneously try to crush the economy, which they believe will, have less demand. Obviously, it will make for a situation of less demand, but that is their direction. That is bad policy, spending another $1 trillion of your money. And that's what's going on. We'll keep you all updated as more comes forward with what the administration is looking at on that. And as details come over from the Senate, I'm sorry about that, into the House of Representatives side. Another thing I want to talk about quickly, Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. I do think that Speaker Pelosi should go visit Taiwan. It would say a great deal about what the United States of America believes that our relationship should be with Taiwan. It also says this: no American diplomat at any level, especially third in line to the presidency of the United States of America, is going to be told on any level by China where they can or cannot travel to, who they can or cannot visit with. In no circumstance whatsoever should we be taking any cues from China in that way. We should, in fact, be giving them a double barrel set of middle fingers or something like that, if that's what they want to go out there and say to the United States of America. So I do believe Pelosi should go over there. I know that former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has offered to do the visit with her. I think that would be a much better choice than, say, taking the current Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. I don't think that Speaker Pelosi will take the former Secretary of State up on his offer to go, but I think that would be outstanding. Secretary Pompeo did an absolutely incredible job for the United States of America, being our top diplomat abroad, and I would love to see him have an opportunity to continue working in diplomacy, certainly on that front right now. That would be outstanding, much better than what's likely going to happen, unfortunately. So one other quick thing to talk about before we go to your questions. I'm going to go to immigration, human trafficking report. New York Times, they're finally catching up on a report that came out this week that smuggling migrants across the border is now a $1 billion business annually. This is something that we've talked about before. I've made mention of the fact that sitting on the Foreign Affairs Committee, I have delegations from foreign countries coming in regularly, Guatemala as one example, other countries in South Central America, and they speak very, very directly about exactly what happens with the cartels. And when Mayorkas or Biden go out there and say the kind of weak things that they say on the southern border, like getting rid of the Remain in Mexico policy and other things that they do with amnesty, they will talk very directly about the ads that cartels will put up in their countries, talking to people saying, look, here's what President Biden said in America. Give us $5,000, give us $10,000 of your money, and we can get you to America. You claim asylum, you walk over the border, you look for somebody in a uniform, tell them you want that asylum. They'll put you into the system with the American taxpayer dollar. They'll give you trauma care immediately, and they'll get you some clothes, and they'll get you on a bus, and they'll ship you around America, and they'll get you some vouchers for things. The American taxpayer is going to pay for all of that. And then, hey, don't show up to your court appointments, and you'll be stuck in the system until there's a Democratic administration that will go out there and give amnesty to all of you, and you'll be just fine and you can stay. And that's the sales pitch of the cartels, and that is the $1 billion business model for the cartels. They smuggle drugs into America, fentanyl as one of the top drugs that they're smuggling in there, but smuggling people in, it's not even a smuggle, it's getting them into America and saying, hey, go run to the person in uniform and tell them you want amnesty, and then tell them all of this, and this is what will happen. And that is because of weak Biden administration policies. Let's juxtapose that to President Trump and what he created, the Remain in Mexico policy, what he negotiated with Mexico. Very specifically, I got to have a conversation. I've had the chance to have many conversations with President Trump one-on-one. And, I think one of the most important negotiations that he did was with Mexico, and talking about our southern border and how Mexico is going to stop letting people run across our southern border. And if they don't, then he's going to start by putting a tariff of 5% on everything coming across the border. And if a day after that they won't do it, then it's going to go to 10%. And if the day after that they don't do it, then it's going to go to 15, and then 20 and 25, and the list goes on and on. And long story short, he ended up getting a call back from the leadership in Mexico that day saying, okay, you got a deal. We're going to work on making sure that people remain in Mexico instead of crossing over that southern border. That's American strength in terms of negotiation. That's what we need to see, but we're not going to see this out of this administration. Anyways, in that, I've covered a couple issues here. Again, as always, if you want to know when we're going to do these live videos and ask your questions, like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you about your questions. In that, let me get Jinwook here to put some questions up, and let me get a drink of water here so I'm not continually coughing in the mic, and we'll go to some questions. All right. And I spilled, so that happens sometimes. Brian, what can be done about the ATF violating federal law by keeping a gun registry When will the unconstitutional NFA, National Firearms Act, be repealed? When will we get nationwide concealed carry reciprocity? So keep that question up so I don't miss any of the parts of it. And let's start with the first part of it. What can be done about the ATF violating federal law by keeping a gun registry? So there's a number of things that I've worked on in Congress. One of the things, you go back a few years ago to a couple of Congresses back, and I actually worked on what was known as HR 8 at the time, and that was the National Instant Criminal Background Check. And one of the things that I worked on putting in that was making sure that, if it was going to be updated, that you would still be able to give your firearms to pretty much any level of your family tree. If you're law enforcement, security officers, you don't have to go through the process that they were going to put in place. It wasn't going to hold you up. And then beyond that, making sure that the Department of Justice, under no circumstances, could keep those records at all, which would allow them to basically create a gun registry. And you fast forward in time to this current Congress, and Democrats moved that bill through again, HR 8. I did not vote for it, but what did they do? They took out all of those provisions and a number of other things. I got to try to remember what all of them were because it was a little while ago now, but they took out the provision, one of them that said that the Department of Justice wouldn't be able to keep those records from what was going on with that and create a gun registry. They literally took that out. And then you look at another thing they took out. I had a provision in there that said anybody that crossed the border illegally, an illegal immigrant that tried to get a firearm, they would immediately be reported to ICE. They took that out. They don't want illegals that are illegally trying to buy firearms reported to ICE or any of the border agencies. They took that out and other things. Long story short, how do you keep them from creating a gun registry? You do vote in Republicans, because Democrats want a gun registry. They want a catalog of every firearm that's in my safe and anywhere else that I might choose to keep one, and that's in your home, and any one that you buy or that you give down to your children. That is literally what they want. They want a catalog of every last one of them. So if you don't want that to happen, don't let them have control of the House of Representatives or the Senate or anything else. I'm not trying to get into the politics in that way of it, but that's the reality of it. Beyond that, when will the unconstitutional National Firearms Act be repealed? I have heard nothing. And you go back, I was in a Republican under majority in the House, Republican Senate, and Republican president, obviously under President Trump in my first term. And there was literally zero addressing whatsoever of the National Firearms Act. I can't remember to this moment of it being a conversation with any caucus, any group, anyone whatsoever. It is something that I will bring up as we move into the majority. And here's why I think it's something that is important to think about in this way. And it reflects a different piece of legislation that I'm on as well, that has to do with the taxation of firearms. So if something is a constitutional right? A well-regulated militia for the purpose of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If that is your constitutional right, which it is, then should it be able to be taxed? Should you be able to tax a constitutional right? And I think the argument is no, you shouldn't be able to tax a constitutional right. And that's one of the easiest places that I think as we move into the majority, we should be going to look at that. Last question on there. When will we get a nationwide concealed carry reciprocity? I've been on a number of concealed carry reciprocity bills over the years. We have had a few votes on them over the years. I don't believe they made it through the Senate, if I'm remembering correctly, but commitment certainly as we move into the majority in the House of Representatives in the next Congress, which I believe Republicans will do. I will continue to push for concealed carry reciprocity on that front. I'm just going to mention a couple other things on firearms right now. There was supposed to be an assault weapons ban bill coming to the floor of the House this week. I do not believe that assault weapons ban bill is coming to the House. They may try to revive it sometime. Democrats may try to revive it sometime in August. It absolutely will not get my support, will not get my vote. I think you look at, I'm not going to say you, I'm going to say I look at this and say, anything going around in the country right now says, the Democrats in the House of Representatives do not work in good faith. That's what I was telling you about HR 8 previously. And everything that they put in place shows to me that, there's probably never been a more important time for us to exercise our defense against tyranny now and forever and every other moment of the day than certainly under these policies of Democrats, maybe only second to the American Revolution. Do we need this ability to defend ourselves against tyranny? But you look at them allowing people illegally across our southern border, defunding the police, literally asking the police to stand down in cities like Portland and Seattle, giving autonomous zones to criminals. The list goes on and on and on. It is important that this is something that we retain for ourselves, and you will have my support to make sure that there is not a ban on the purchase of firearms, that we have the opportunity to defend ourselves as we see fit, and I will work to continue to defend that. Let's go to the next question. What do we got here? Does Congress have any power over the decisions about money being sent to the Ukraine? Where is this just executive decisions being made? So yes, Congress absolutely has control of the purse strings, as people quite often say about Congress. We control the purse strings. We control the budget. We control where the dollars are spent. On the Foreign Affairs Committee, I work every day. I will have a markup later today. Well, I will work to make sure that your money is not sent abroad and spent and sent to other countries. That's unfortunately primarily what the Foreign Affairs Committee does, is send your money to other places. Now, when we talk specifically about the Ukraine, there was a bill that was basically $40 billion related to the Ukraine. Not all of it went to the Ukraine. Some of it was to restore American stockpiles of weapons because of weapons that went over to the war in Ukraine against Russia. But billions of dollars, hands down, were directly to Ukraine. I did not vote for that piece of legislation. I don't think it's responsible to send your money there in that way, and I'll give some specifics on that. But again, it's all your dollars. But here's one of the most important things that didn't take place with that vote, that vote to send money to Ukraine. So I asked actually Democrats about this because Democrats are in the majority. So I asked Democrats on the House Armed Services Committee. I asked Democrats on the Foreign Affairs Committee. I asked the Democrat majority leader, his name's Steny Hoyer, he's the top Democrat underneath Pelosi. And I asked him this question. I said, hey, we're about to vote on this. I was on the floor of the House. Have you received any information from the Biden administration at all, from the Pentagon, anybody in the State Department about what we're buying with that $40 billion? I don't mean which bombs and bullets. I mean, if we spend $40 billion of your all's money, the money of we the people, does Ukraine win and Russia lose? Or is there just a bunch of dead Russians? Or do we stop some human rights abuse in some specific way? Or, what is it that actually takes place with spending your, and he had absolutely no answer to it whatsoever. Well, I just think that what we had been doing has been working so far, so let's continue doing what has been going on. That is not strategy. That is not tactics. And that's not what's owed to you, the people of the United States of America, when $40 billion or $40 of your money is being spent to have no plan of attack in that way. And I could beleaguer that point in length because there's a lot more that's played out on the Foreign Affairs Committee related to that. I won't, but yes, absolutely. Congress holds the purse strings, but you do see the executive branch going out there and pushing this through the House, pushing it through the executive branch, and then actually votes taking place in the House and the Senate, and those passing. Democrats do have the majority in the House. There were Republicans that voted for that spending in the Ukraine. I was not one of them. So let's see what else we got here. Brian, I asked last night if you are on the Transportation Committee. Yes, I am on the House Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure, work on a number of things related to bridges, highways, roads, aviation, seaports, you name it. We're working on it. We had a hearing last week with Secretary Pete Buttigieg, where we talked about a number of different things. One of the things I brought up to him is that under their administration and the Trump administration, I would give this as one solution to what's going on with the supply chain, but they're not working on it, unfortunately. But under COVID rules for trucking, truckers had reduced regulations on the amount of hours that they could drive. Let me try to say that another way. Truckers could drive or have more flexibility with the hours that they drive under COVID rules if they were transporting something related to the vaccine or some kind of specific food like Frosted Flakes or something. But if they were carrying clothes or something else, they didn't have that flexibility. So I asked Secretary Buttigieg, I said, is there a difference in the quality of driver if they're carrying this or carrying that? No, there's not a difference. Is there a difference in the safety of how they're traveling on the road if they're carrying this or carrying that? No, there's not a difference, right? So then why don't we take that flexibility that existed under COVID rules and open that up to all truckers if it was decided that that was safe? Why not open that up to everybody? And again, does that solve everything that's going on with the supply chain? No. Does it help? Absolutely, yes. So why not do that? But no, they're not looking to do that. They're not working on doing that at all. I do have a piece of legislation to do that. I think we can 100% move that through as Republicans are in the majority in the House. I don't think Democrats are going to move that through as they are in the majority right now. So let's go to another question. Why can't we get other representatives to work on our water crisis? If you're talking about water crisis specifically back home in Florida, what goes on with toxic algae coming out of Lake Okeechobee, going into the coastal estuaries of the Caloosahatchee and the St. Lucie and the Lake Worth Lagoon and other places. And why very specifically? It's because people are getting money from Big Sugar, and Big Sugar wants there to be water policies that reflect them being able to get every drop of water that they can get out of Lake Okeechobee, no matter how much it hurts any of our other coastal areas. It does not matter. They're not for policies that would actually spare our waterways and get more water down to the Florida Everglades. Now, I don't have a problem, at all supporting industry in the state of Florida, right up to the point that they decide that they have to step on my community or some other community and the environments of those communities in order to conduct their business model, right? That's one of the big fights that we're having with Brightline right now. And it's the same fight that I've been having with the sugar industry for years. They want so much water that it requires keeping Lake Okeechobee artificially high. And then when we get into the hurricane rainy seasons like we're in right now in Florida, they have to release the waters out of Lake Okeechobee to our coastal estuaries and destroy our coastal estuaries. And that industry does not give a rat's caboose about that taking place. They might talk about it sometimes, but do they actually work to say, let's get lower levels on Lake Okeechobee, something that doesn't cost a dime? No, they don't. And so in my opinion, that's what's going on with that. And we're going to continue to stay in that fight, try to keep every drop of water out of our coastal estuary that we can. Just another quick blurb on how that works. In the summertime, like right now, here's what goes on a daily basis. Myself, my staff, we are in contact with the South Florida Water Management District or the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or other agencies saying, hey, how come you're not sending this many acre feet of water to the Everglades? How come you're not sending this many acre feet of water or cubic feet per second to this flow equalization basin or to this canal or to this place or that place or that place, so that you don't have to come to me in a month and say, hey, sorry, Congressman, we got to send 1,000 or 2,000 cubic feet per second out into your backyard and destroy your coastal estuary. That's the way that fight looks on a daily basis to try to keep those waters from coming into our backyard, and we'll keep up the fight. So let's go to another question here. Are you able to shed any additional light on the Brightline train as it pertains to the bridge over the St. Lucie River, in Stuart, Florida? So number one, this past Monday, July 25th, when the public comment period ended, just want to say we had an absolutely incredible turnout from mariners in our community. I think we might even have a video for it. I'll ask to have it put up in a minute if we have a video of it, of coming out to our waterway to show the Coast Guard Admiral McPherson, who is the decision maker for what will be the regulation of our train bridge, to show that admiral, listen, what people in the Coast Guard in Washington, D.C. are telling you about this waterway. These people don't know, their backside from their elbow. And so here's what it actually looks like. There's 3 bridges on top of each other right there. The Coast Guard came into the office that I'm sitting in right now, people from DC, and directly told me, and that's what really set off what went off this week with everybody showing up to the waterway, directly told me, well, we believe that if we give you 15 minutes an hour in waterway access, that you'd be able to move 70 boats in 15 minutes through that waterway. Every single person that I repeated that to used swear words to describe what they were thinking about that statement and literally how asinine that is. Anybody that knows our waterway, and it is absolutely asinine to think that. And so mariners came out to show the Coast Guard admiral, listen, if you get a boat with a 10 or 15 foot beam going through there, you can't have 2 boats crossing each other. That's going to slow things down. If you have a sailboat going through there, that's going to slow things down. If you have a boat in tow going through there, that's going to slow things down. If you have boats just operating to be in safe navigable waters, just operating safely with safe distances between them because of the currents and the tight spacing, you're not going to be able to hit that number that DC pulled out of their tail end. There's no way that it comes even close to that. And the community did an awesome job. I couldn't thank you all enough for showing the Coast Guard exactly how our waterway would be impeded by us being given. Think about that. Think about the way that I have to say this. Unfortunately, it's our community, and our community may be given. Oh, thank you for giving us 15 minutes an hour in access to our waterway, right? They deserve a double-barreled middle finger for that. Also, if that's something that we were to get, should not take place whatsoever. It is our waterway. We deserve access to it. Water has the right of way. And, and I'm going to repeat this. I said this before. Best comment, let me ask, do we have a video, by the way? Okay, so we'll put this video up in a minute. Best comment I heard was from somebody that owns one of the marinas in our area. And what that marina owner said was, they don't get to ask the city and the county that they put green lights on all of the roadways so that, people can get to their marina quicker. And if they don't do that, then their business model doesn't work. The businesses don't get to demand that of anybody. Hey, I need all green lights for my business model to work. Why would the Brightline get to demand that they get all green lights up and down the line and block off our waterways so that they can make their business model work? It doesn't work that way. They have to accommodate our waterway, our right of way, and play that video, Jinwook. So that's just a little snapshot of what we had going on there. Incredible turnout. And in that, thank everybody again. So let's, I see we're at 29 minutes. Let's see, do we have time for one more question? Let's do one more question. And we try to cut these things off at 30 minutes. Always appreciate y'all liking, subscribing, tuning in for when we can answer more of your questions. And, in that, we got one up. Here we go. I wasn't paying enough attention to it. Are we sending oil to foreign countries? If so, why? Is it possible to curtail this outrageous spending? So let's talk about a couple of things on this front. We are exporting a number of forms of energy. I want to say that we are now the largest exporter of LNG, the United States of America. I might be slightly off on that, but I'm pretty close to that. So that's a form of energy that we are exporting. Did this administration move oil from the strategic petroleum reserve to other countries? Yes, they did. Could they have chose not to do that or pushed all those that were making those decisions to not move our oil reserves, our strategic petroleum reserves to other countries? 100% they could have. Did they do that? No, they did not. Do I know why? I do not know why they choose half the things that they choose to do to begin with destroying the ability of Americans to produce all the energy that we need from sea to shining sea. People that live up and down the community are looking at their energy prices right now in their homes, directly related to natural gas in many cases, and seeing those energy prices through the roof. So the energy prices for natural gas are very different from those of what we get for gasoline, much more of a global market, natural gas, much more of a regional market. So in that, there's much more of a capability to affect those prices by made in America energy prices. But the administration, again, absolutely unwilling to do that. Can you throw that question up again one more time if you see it? I think there was another part of it that I missed there. And if I can remember it. Okay, so if so, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that? I wish I could tell you why they're doing these things. I cannot answer for why they're doing them, except they just don't believe in America First policies. We knew this, that they didn't believe in America First policies. In the last presidential election, they ran against America First policies, American security first, American border security first, American energy first, American businesses first. Ran against all of those policies. Is it possible to curtail outrageous spending? So as soon as I get off of this live, I am going to go to what we would call a foreign affairs markup, a markup for the Foreign Affairs Committee. Actually, it's in a little while. It's not immediately after this. And I am going to work on curtailing spending. They're going to try to find ways to send money to other countries under things that they will call the Millennium Challenge Corporation or the Finance Development Corporation or this or this or this. They're going to find ways to spend your hard-earned money, take it from you, bring it to Washington, give it to a few other people, and then send it over to other countries. I'm going to go work on not doing that. One of my favorite questions that I always ask in the Foreign Affairs Committee, and I will probably ask it today as well. For those that want to keep spending money, do you have any kind of tripwire for where you would say, all right, that's a little bit too far. We probably should stop sending the American taxpayer dollars abroad. Would that number be, clearly it's not $30 trillion. That's not the number for them. Would that number be $35 trillion? So if it hit $35 trillion in debt, would you say, okay, hey, we better pump the brakes and not send that money abroad? What if it hit $40 trillion? And Democrats will keep answering no on this. They'll say, no, I'm not going to vote for that. That's not it. How about $40 trillion? How about $45 trillion? Their limit to their spending knows no bounds. And just one other quick example of that would be what they're doing apparently in the Senate with Manchin now agreeing to what they're going to call the CHIPS Act and then the next Build Back Better Act, whatever it is that they call it. Again, another roughly $1 trillion in spending is what they're trying to do right now. So again, you think about what's going on in inflation and what they're doing with your money. It's absolutely absurd, and irresponsible would be an understatement. I don't have time to think of a better word that's not swearing about it, but I'll try to think of that for next time. So in that, we'll put up the phone numbers for, where you guys can reach out to the office if you have literally anything that we can help with. I always say it this way. If you don't like that you had to wait 2 rings on the phone to call some agency, then call us up and we'll help you get them on the line in 1 ring. Whatever the case may be, there's not an issue too big, too small with any of the federal agencies that you're out there maybe having a headache in your life with. Let us know. We'll help you. Like, subscribe. We'll let you know when we have one of these again. An honor to represent you. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your summer prior to back to school. And we'll see you all around town. You all take care.